Hello. I was just trying to see if I can spot my family. Woohoo! They're right over there. And my fellow delegates. I'm Kathy Tran. I serve in the Virginia House of Delegates. And I am so excited to be with you here tonight. In 2017, I was holding my newborn daughter. She was about a month old. And I realized that the values of hope, opportunity, and freedom and equality for all, the values that my family had risked our lives for as boat refugees from Vietnam, the values that my husband's family had risked their lives for escaping anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe at the turn of the century, the values that bind all of us together, the fundamental values of our American democracy, were under threat. And what was I going to do about it? I had an amazing family, 4 young kids, and I realized in 2017 I needed to stand up, I needed to speak out, and I need to fight hard for my children and for all your children. And what we saw in 2017, with all of your help, was we flipped 15 seats in the House of Delegates. We elected the most diverse cohort in Virginia's history, and more women than ever to the House of Delegates. We were still in the minority, but we were a mighty 49, and we delivered Medicaid expansion to 400,000 Virginians. And we showed in 2017 that women can run, they can win, they can lead, and they can deliver. And that tiny wave here in Virginia that we saw, that tiny blue wave, swept across the country in 2018. And we elected more women than ever to the U.S. Congress and took back the House of Representatives. And then 2019 came, and all eyes were back on Virginia. And Virginia, we did it again. For the first time in a generation, we won a Democratic majority in the General Assembly. That's right. We elected the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House of Delegates for the first time in 400 years. We have 2 women of color in top leadership positions in our state Senate and our House of Delegates. And let me tell you, we delivered, because the first half of session just passed. We have ratified the Equal Rights Amendment, raised the minimum wage, we passed bills to protect our environment, expand equality to LGBTQ Virginians, and so much more. So again, we're showing the country what we can do in Virginia, that women can run, they can win, they can lead, and they can deliver. And here we are on the precipice of another important election, one that is probably the most consequential of our lifetimes. And I'll be honest, I was going to sit on the sidelines. I know, right? I actually don't crave this attention. I was going to sit on the sidelines. But I had the same moment I did in 2017. And I looked at my quartet, soon to be a quintet this summer, and I realized that I needed to stand up, to speak out, and to fight for Elizabeth Warren to be our next president of the United States. So I'm here tonight as a mom, and I want the best and brightest future for my kids, just like you want the best and brightest future for your kids and for our communities. And I want somebody who is going to dream big. I want somebody who's going to fight hard. I want somebody with the right, thoughtful plans. And I want somebody who's going to inspire hope, who's going to bring us together. And I realize, right, I can't sit on the sidelines, and I know you can't either, because now is the time to commit. Now is the time to knock those doors and to show up for Senator Warren, because we have a big election on March 4th. And so I'm so proud and so excited tonight to endorse Senator Warren as our next President of the United States. Thank you so much.
All right, Virginia, please give a warm Warren Democrat welcome to Senator Ghazala Hasmi.
I have been standing outside for about an hour, and guess what? I hear you singing. I decided to run in November of 2018 because I heard the song of America. Some of you may know that I've been a professor of American literature, and my favorite poet is Walt Whitman. And Walt Whitman famously wrote, "I hear America singing. I hear America singing in the voices of the Kentuckians, the Georgians, the Bostonians. I hear the vast melody of America in the farmers who are working in their fields, in the fishermen out to sea. I hear America singing in the life of the everyday man and woman and child working to build this country. I hear America singing," Walt Whitman said. "It is the song of democracy that defines who and what we are." And another great poet, another favorite poet of mine, Langston Hughes in the 1920s. Langston Hughes dared to claim that song of America for every marginalized individual who has stood outside and said, "I belong in this country, this democracy is mine." Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes dared to claim that song for himself and said, "I too sing America." And so when I decided to run as an immigrant woman living in Virginia, after 50 years of living in this country, after having people say, "You may not belong here, that you are not welcome here," I knew that I had an answer. I knew that I had a right to claim this song for myself, and I said, "I too sing America." And if you have heard our wonderful Senator Elizabeth Warren speak, you know that she too sings the song of America. For her entire life, she has been fighting for us every single day. She knows the struggle that we all face because she has faced it herself. She knows that we deserve better, and she is ready to make sure that she gives us what we require in this country. Elizabeth Warren has been listening to us, and she knows that when we're talking about opportunity, we're talking about equity, we're talking about the right to our fundamental democracy, and that we have to fight for it. And she's ready to take that fight to the White House. Elizabeth Warren knows that health care is not a right that's reserved just as a privilege for a few, but that it's a right for all of us. And she knows if we're talking about social mobility and helping every single working American in this country, that everybody needs to have access to education, to the right opportunities to get the jobs and the professional careers that they deserve. She knows that we have to fight for all of our country, for everybody that lives here. Elizabeth Warren is fighting for us, and so I'm asking you to do one important thing. Will you fight for her? Elizabeth Warren knows the song of America. She knows our stories. She knows our voices. She knows our path forward. She is going to take it to the White House. We are going to help her get there. We're going to do everything we can. Commit yourself today. Make sure that we change the future in 2020. We're fighting for our democracy. We're fighting for our children. We're fighting for our country. Join me now in giving the warmest welcome that Virginia can give to Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Ghazala, thank you. Strong women help get it done. Wow. So here we are, Virginia. The primaries have really started. We've heard from 2 states. We got 55 states and territories ready to go. You all are a Super Tuesday state, and that means the road to the White House runs right through Virginia. So I'm here today to ask you 2 things. The first one is to ask you, get in this fight with me to help build an America that doesn't just work for the rich and the powerful, but that works for everyone. And second, I'm here to ask for your vote. Because here's the deal. I got your back. You can count on me. I'm going to count on you. Now, this has been some presidential primary already. We've been going at this for about a year. Some people got in a little later than others. Michael Bloomberg came in on the billionaire plan. Just buy yourself a nomination. Yeah. But I want to point out that a video just came out yesterday in which Michael Bloomberg is saying, in effect, that the 2008 financial crash was caused because the banks weren't permitted to discriminate against black and brown people. I want to be clear about this. That crisis would not have been averted if the banks had been able to be bigger racists. And anyone who thinks that should not be the leader of our party. In this fight for a long time. In a sense, I've been in this fight since I was a little girl. My daddy had a lot of different jobs. He ended up as a janitor. My mom worked a minimum wage job at Sears. I have 3 older brothers, all went off to the military. Me had a dream to be a public school teacher. Can we hear it for our public school teachers? Shot at making it to be a public school teacher. My family didn't have any money. It was a commuter college that cost $50 a semester. I believe in opportunity. That's what America's about. Now, I was lucky enough, I spent pretty much all my life as a teacher. First, as a special education teacher, dream job. And second, in law school. Nerd contingent. Love it, always said with love. But here's the thing. I spent most of my life studying one central question, and that is what's happening to working families in America? Why is America's middle class being hollowed out? Why is it that working people are just getting crushed? And why is it that poor people are getting dirt kicked in their face? Why is it that people who work every bit as hard as my folks worked 2 generations ago today find the path so much rockier and so much steeper, and for people of color, even rockier and even steeper? And the answer is about whose side government is on. Just look at it this way. When I was a girl, my daddy had a heart attack. My mom had to go to work to be able to save our house. And she did. She walked over to the Sears, got herself a minimum wage job at a time when a minimum wage job would support a family of 3, would pay a mortgage, would cover the utilities, and would put food on the table. Today, a minimum wage job in America will not keep a mama and a baby out of poverty. That is wrong, and that is why I'm in this fight. Yep. You bet. And that kind of difference, didn't just happen because of gravity. I'll tell you why that difference is in the minimum wage. It's because when I was a girl, the question asked in Washington is, what does it take a family of 3 to survive in America? What does it take a family of 3 to get a toehold in America's middle class? What does it take a family of 3 to have something solid that they can build on? Today, the question asked in Washington is, where do we set the minimum wage to maximize profits for giant multinational corporations? I don't want a government that works for giant multinational corporations. I want one that works for our families. Has been the fight of my life. I have watched year after year after year as families' incomes have flattened out, as people have worked harder and harder, Everybody at work, people working 2 jobs, on and on and on, while expenses shoot through the roof. Housing, health care, child care, the cost to get an education. We have an America that is working better and better and better if you're born into privilege. But it is not working for the rest of us, and 2020 is our time to change that. So I've been in this fight for a long, long time, but I gotta tell you, the real shocker for me was when I actually got called into the government into this. This isn't something I'd ever planned on. I figured, I'm gonna stay in here, I'm gonna do the research, I'm gonna talk about what's happening to our families, what's happening to people of color, what's happening to seniors, what's happening to young people. But during the financial crash, I got called to come in and try to put some accountability in place. Yeah. To hold those banks accountable that got the big bailout. And while I was there, I thought, we ought to be fighting for a government agency. A consumer agency that would actually be there to make sure that this never happens again, that giant banks don't boost their profits by cheating people on mortgages and credit cards and payday loans and student loans. Now, people said, great idea, but you'll never get it done. Never in a million years will you get this done. Yeah, I heard that, and I thought what they were saying is try harder. Get in the fight. Get more people in the fight. So a whole bunch of us got in the fight, and in 2010, President Obama signed the CFPB into law. And it goes to show that when we fight, we can win. It also shows not just we can win, we can actually make government work, not just for the rich and powerful, we can make it work for everyone. And that, as plain and simple as it is why I am in this fight. I am in this fight because I believe we have this special opportunity in 2020. We have this unique chance to be able to come in and not to look backwards, not to nibble around the edges of our problems, but to attack our problems head on and make America the nation of our best values, one that works for all our children. So that's why I'm here. You bet. Man, we got a rowdy crowd here. Let's do some questions. Stockton's got them. Woohoo! Hi.
Hi, my name is Lim.
Hi, Lim.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. You and me and a few thousand of your closest friends. This is fun. By the way, I just want to say I apologize that we were late. The reason we were late is that I had to start with the overflow crowd from the overflow crowd. That's a good problem. Good problem. Hi, Liam.
Yes, I have a question about your Medicare for All plan.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
This is for my friend who is a chiropractor.
Uh-huh.
She owns her own small business. She's a person of color, hardworking, still paying off her student loan.
Oh, let's talk about the student loan debt part too, but okay. We'll come to that in season 2. Okay.
And she has concerns about the plan because When she's working with Medicare patients right now, she is being paid pennies for overwhelming amount of paperwork. And if she says she had to do that for every single patient of hers, she can't do it.
And she's probably right.
Right. So I need to hear from you what you would do to expand coverage, but also make sure those providers thrive as well.
Okay, so it's a great question. Let me do this if I can. Let's do the narrower question and then at least a little bit bigger question for everyone. On the separate question you've got here, look, we need to make sure that we get the reimbursement rates right because we need healthcare practitioners to thrive. And that's true for doctors and nurse practitioners. It's true for mental health providers. That's how we get mental health that we need. Yes. It's true for physical therapists, it's true for chiropractors. It's true across the board. So we got to make sure that we get these dialed in right. That's the first part of it. Second part, when you talk about the paperwork and all, this is actually going to be one of the big savings. You know, I don't know about you all, but you ever go to your doctor, you see 2 doctors and 6 people filling out health insurance forms? Yeah, well, the whole idea is this all gets down to just one kind of form because you have just one kind of provider. We get to the right place. By the way, have you ever wondered why there are so many different health insurance forms and why they change every year? It's because it increases the opportunities for health insurance companies to deny coverage. Somebody filled it out wrong. No, not paying. And it's driving up, it's one of the reasons, not the only one, but one of the reasons that drives up healthcare costs overall. So I think we're going to get help to your friend in both directions. And I'll put one more. As a small business owner, when everyone has access to healthcare through Medicare for All, that means small business owners can compete with big businesses for their employees. Everybody gets covered. That's going to help a lot of small businesses. Good. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Come on over. Hi.
Hi.
Tell me your name.
My name is Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Huge fan.
Oh, good.
I work in transportation. It's a cost to families that they don't have a lot of control over.
Absolutely.
The gas tax hasn't been raised since 1993.
Yeah.
It's not indexed to inflation.
No.
Highway Trust Fund went bankrupt
Yeah.
more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Virginia specifically is one of many states turning to private tolling of public roads to pay for our crumbling infrastructure.
Right.
And working families who can't afford to live downtown often pay more than $50 one way to get to work in the morning. One day.
Wow.
Single day cost. I want to understand how we can help at the federal level create a sustainable funding source for transportation and specifically prioritize transit improvements that the Koch brothers have lobbied against.
So, Julie, the question, I'm going to just see if I can. I just want to reframe your question a little bit because the question I think we should be asking in a democracy is how did this happen? I mean, think about it. In a democracy, what would you expect to see happen? You'd expect to see the services that lots of people use be the services that we invest in and that do very well, right? And that in turn help grow our economy. You got a good transportation system, more people can get to jobs, right? They can get to an education. They have more opportunities. So you'd expect to see in America that's how it works. It doesn't work that way. Why not? Because we have an America that works for rich people who don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to pay taxes. Now, by itself, that's not quite a full answer because you should be saying to yourself, yeah, they don't pay taxes, but this is a democracy, and there's a whole lot more of us than there is of them. So how is it that rich people who don't want to pay taxes, and because the consequence of not paying taxes is the Highway Trust Fund runs out, nobody will pass any additional revenue sources, you're nodding yes, right, on every part of this. Why is it that it works that way? Think about it this way. It's because of the influence of money. Money on the decisions that get made in Washington. In fact, let me just say it kind of bluntly. When you see a government that works great for rich people, works great for giant corporations, works great for those who can hire an army of lobbyists and lawyers, can make giant campaign contributions and bundle donations, when it works great for them and doesn't work for much of anyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple, and we need to call it out for what it is. So, here's the good news. I have the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. Here's the bad news. We need the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. Now, it's got a lot of moving parts to it, and because money is felt in a lot of places. So let me just describe 2 or 3 of the pieces from this. What can we do to beat back the influence of money in Washington? How about this one? End lobbying as we know it. How about end the revolving door between Wall Street and Washington? Or the revolving door between Big Pharma and the FDA? Here's one you may never have thought about, but boy, it matters. How about we make the United States Supreme Court follow basic rules of ethics? Yep. Okay, I could do these all night long. It's a big bill, no surprise. I'm going to do just one more. You really want to hose out some of the corruption in Washington. Make every single person who runs for federal office put their tax returns online. We flush out some of the corruption. I get it. We're not gonna be able to get rid of all of the influence of money, but boy, I'm tired of playing on my back foot. I'm ready to get on my front foot and attack the corruption. Ready to call it out for what it is. We do that, and now we got money to invest. We've got money for transportation. We got money for our kids. We've got money for student loan debt cancellation. We got money. Because here's the thing, I want everybody to leave here remembering this core part. Whatever decision, whatever issue really gets you going, climate change, immigration, criminal justice reform, gun safety, price of prescription drugs, whatever is the issue that matters to you, that really is the one that pulls you into this fight. If there is a decision to be made in Washington, it has been influenced by money. It has been shaped by money. It has had exceptions created by money, and not just once, not just twice. It's over and over and over, and most of it never makes a headline. Over and over and over, so that the rules, the regulations, the laws are just reshaped over time to accommodate those with money and to leave everyone else behind. So whenever someone talks to you about any other issue, how they're gonna fix this and they're gonna fix that and they care about this, always ask yourself, what are you going to do about the influence of money? Because if you don't attack the corruption head on, you can't do anything else. So for me, we're starting by going after the corruption. That's how we'll build the America that works for everyone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wes from Fairfax.
Hi, Wes from Fairfax. It's good to see you.
Thanks, great to be here. I had trouble coming up with a question because you're known for the person who has a plan for everything, and between your very comprehensive website and the things you're saying out on the campaign trail, you've pretty much answered all my questions. So
I hope that's a good thing, Wes.
that's a good thing. But
Yeah, because I kind of feel like if you actually want to get something done, you ought to have a plan for that.
But I am going to take advantage of being here to ask you to
Sure.
step back and boil it down for me. If you had to pick one single thing to do to improve our nation's security, what would that be besides removing the current incumbent?
It's to protect this democracy. It's if we can get this democracy working, and when I say get this democracy working, I mean where everybody's vote matters, everybody's voice gets lifted up. Make this democracy work. Because here's the thing, understand this. You know, I get it. Rich people, they're gonna own more shoes, they're gonna own more cars, they're gonna own more houses, but they shouldn't own a bigger share of our democracy. So, I got a plan for that. And here's how it starts. Here's how I think of this. First, if you'd let me do it, I'm telling you, I want to see a constitutional amendment to protect the right of every American citizen to vote and to get that vote counted. Everyone. Fight hard. I want a federal law to outlaw all political gerrymandering anywhere in this country. Yes. How about another federal law? One that overturns every racist voter suppression law in America. Okay, just one more. Just one more. Overturn Citizens United. Democracy is not for sale. That's what I do. Protect our democracy. We're good with that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phil, and I work at this high school at Wakefield. And I'm going to ask you please to speak
Wait
to...
just a sec. I can't hear you. Go ahead.
If you could please speak to these fierce students that inspire me so much.
Hello.
And what they want to know is how your plan to... sorry. They want to know how your pathway to citizenship is different from anybody else's and what you would do about the rollbacks to the EPA.
Now wait, we're going to do... I'm just having trouble hearing you because they're so excited.
So they want to know...
About citizenship?
They want to know how your pathway to citizenship would be different from anybody else's and how you would fix rollbacks to the EPA.
Okay.
The students don't always do what you tell them.
Okay, that's right. No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so first let's do just a little bit more on immigration, because I think it's important when we talk about immigration to start with our values. Immigration does not make America weaker. Immigration makes America stronger. And I got a plan for that. So let's talk about it. First, we need to expand legal immigration. Trump has contracted it, it's wrong. We need to be able to bring families back together, including mamas and daddies who've been deported. We need a pathway to citizenship, not just for dreamers. Dreamers are great, but dreamers have moms and dads and aunties and grandparents. We need a pathway to citizenship for the 11 million people who are here to stay. That's the difference. Fair, achievable, No more mixed status families. Everybody gets on the pathway to citizenship. And one more, even though you didn't ask. We need to stop this Trump-made crisis at our border. We do that in part by expanding, not taking away, support for the governments in Central America, treating our neighbors with respect so people don't have to flee for their lives. We also, I will, close all for-profit detention centers and prisons in this country. A strong America is an America that lives its values every single day. Now, you also asked me about the EPA rollbacks. I got a really creative idea for this, and that is, how about we get rid of the coal lobbyist who's running the EPA? Climate change threatens every living thing on this planet. What truly scares me the most is every single time the scientists go out and collect some more data and do some more analysis, the problem is worse than we thought, and we have less time than we thought. That means the urgency of the problem cannot be overstated. So I'm going to say something that is very controversial in Congress, but I feel safe to say it here. How are we going to deal with this? And the answer is, now be easy. Hold on to your neighbor if you need to, not in a creepy way. No creepy way. Okay. Okay. Here it is. You ready? I believe in science. That's right. You bet. You bet. That is my first ever science chant. You guys are cool. So, yeah, I'm going to increase by tenfold the money we put into science, basic science, applied science, every part of this. We got to innovate out of this problem. And also, right at the core, has got to be environmental justice. For decades in this country, this nation has permitted toxic waste dumps, polluting factories to be located in or next to communities of color. It has damaged the health of children who live in those communities, of seniors. It has destroyed property values. I'm committing $1 trillion to environmental justice. It has to be at the heart of what we do. There's a whole lot more at ElizabethWarren.com, but I got to mention one more. I'm all for a Green New Deal, but it's not enough. We got to have a Blue New Deal to save our oceans as well. That's what we got to do. You guys have good questions. Yeah. Thank you. Good. Good.
All right, Senator, this is our last question of the night. I
this
know.
is the fun.
It is. And unfortunately, we are unable to stay for selfies tonight because of our late start and just how many Virginians showed up to turn out. But that being said, our wonderful team will be here afterwards to tell you all of the ways that you can plug in, get involved, volunteer, and join this fight before March 3rd.
Okay, so let's make a promise. We bring this home March 3rd. I'm coming back for a selfie with every one of you. Okay, write that down. Take it to the bank. Okay.
Hello, Senator Warren.
Hello.
Soon to be President Warren.
Oh, I like this.
My name is Rick. I am a proud labor union activist for many, many years. Thank you to my Teamster unions and brothers and sisters who printed all the signs here. The union bug is on there. Thank you very much.
We're union all the way. You know, we are a union campaign.
Thank you very much. I know that. And thank you to my wife, who's a proud SCIU organizer on the other side. A shout out to Willow.
I see you.
Willow, I said your name. She waited here for a long time for this. So my question is, you touched on it briefly about corruption. We're all held accountable to the laws that land here.
All except one.
Paid a ticket yesterday, as I had to do before it doubled. And so I come from a labor, Teamsters. If I ran my union the way the White House is run, I'd be in jail. It would be a criminal enterprise. There's a RICO suit that was filed against the Teamsters for the same reason, okay? By Giuliani, of all people. But now he's part of the criminal enterprise. My question for you is, what will President Warren do to make sure that everybody is held to the same standards and accountable for their criminal activities? And if they are criminals, will they end up paying the price just like any one of us would in this room if we did criminal activities like Vladimir Putin's boy in the White House, the orange-haired baboon?
Elf on the shelf?
Yeah, yeah, that guy. If he's already unindicted co-conspirator number one, so he should be doing a 3-year stretch day one right out of the gate. That's a given. But we want an assurance from you that every criminal that's out there is doing that sort of, no matter how high and imperial they think they are, will they be held accountable? Because in the past, presidents have given a pass to people behind them. Ford pardoned Nixon. You know, it happens all the time. So that's my question
the answer is yes. No one is above the law. Everyone is held accountable. Let me say this just so nobody misunderstands here. This is not about political prosecutions. This is not about political retribution. This is about an independent Justice Department, and an independent Justice Department that enforces the rule of law. It investigates. And people who are in any administration should know that if they break the law, even if they have a president who is willing to look the other way, that Elizabeth Warren as president will not look the other way. You will be held accountable. I just want to say one more thing, because it's a great question, but since you mentioned that you are here from a union, I want to say something about what structural change is about. When we're talking about building an economy that works for our families, we got a real problem in this economy right now. We've got giant corporations that gobble up little businesses, gobble up medium-sized businesses. Shoot, they gobble up what used to be big businesses. And the problem with that is not just what it does economically, it's how much power it gives them. Power over their employees, power over their customers, power over the communities where they're located, and power in Washington. It is time for a president who is willing to stand up and enforce the antitrust laws and break these guys up. And yes, big tech, I'm looking at you. That's how we begin to restructure the economy. Part 2 on restructuring the economy, we got to get more power into the hands of workers. That means make it easier to join a union and give unions more power when they negotiate. Unions built America's middle class. Give them a chance and they'll rebuild America's middle class. And one more thing, it's time for a wealth tax in America. We want to get a little structural change. Let's ask the top 1/10 of 1% to pay a 2-cent wealth tax. Just so you know, it's going to be 2 cents. Your first 50 million, free and clear. But your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And 2 cents on every dollar after that. Now, you may have heard there are some billionaires who don't like that. Some have gone on TV and cried. Others have run for president. They argue, but I worked hard for this money. I had a great idea. I followed through. You're just trying to punish success. No. You made it. I say that's great. Good for you. That's how this economy should work. But understand this. You built a great fortune in America. You built it at least in part using workers all of us help pay to educate. You built it at least in part getting your goods to market on roads and bridges all of us help pay to build. You built it at least in part protected by police and firefighters. All of us help pay the salaries for it. And we are happy to do it. We believe in investing in opportunity. That's how you grow an economy. We are just saying if you make it big, I mean really big, I mean top 1/10 of 1% big, pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it. Because here's what we can do. With 2 cents, universal child care for every baby in this country. Universal early education and pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old. We can stop exploiting the largely black and brown women who do this work, raise the wages of every child care worker and school teacher in America. 2 cents. And we can put $800 billion new federal dollars into our public schools. For the first time in history, we can fully fund IDEA so children with disabilities get a full education. And not just that for our babies, not just that for K through 12, we can make post-high school education available, tuition-free, technical school, 2-year college, 4-year college for anybody who wants an education. And we can actually help level the playing field. We can put $50 billion into our historically black colleges and universities. And just one more thing. We can do all of that on 2 cents. 2 cents. We can do all of that and we can cancel student loan debt for 43 million Americans. That's what we're gonna do. I just want you to think about it, because this is the heart of what I've been working on all my life. It's about America's working families. And year by year by year, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher for them. We can just change the law. We can just ask those at the top, pitch in 2 cents, and we can be an America that invests in an entire generation. Are you up for that? We need to talk about this before we wrap up tonight, and that is, we've now had 3 years of Donald Trump. But we got to be serious. It's beyond boo. It's that people are afraid. There are a lot of people who are afraid. They're afraid for their families. They're afraid for their neighbors. They're afraid for children locked in cages at our border. They're afraid for children on lockdown in our public schools. They're afraid for women. They're afraid for people of color. They're afraid for immigrants. They're afraid for LGBTQ people. They're afraid for trans people, all of whose rights are going to be up for grabs in this United States Supreme Court. They are afraid for our nation, and they are afraid for our planet. And the danger is real. Our democracy hangs in the balance in this election. So here's the decision you're going to have to make, Virginia. When you face this kind of fear, do you back up? Do you get timid? Do you crouch? Or do you fight back? Me, I'm fighting back. I'm fighting back. I'm fighting back. You bet. Fighting back. Who's ready to fight? Yes. Fighting back is an act of patriotism. We fought back against a king to build this country. We fought back against the scourge of slavery to save this union. We fought back against the Great Depression to rebuild this economy. We fought back against fascism to protect our democracy. Americans are at our best when we see a big problem and we fight back. Is no time for small ideas. This is no time to be looking backward. This is no time to nibble around the edges of the big problems that face our country. This is the time to meet those problems head on with big structural change. Understand this. I am not running a campaign that has been designed by a bunch of consultants. I am not putting forward proposals that have been carefully crafted not to offend the donor class. I passed that stop sign a long time ago. I'm running a campaign based on a lifetime of fighting for middle-class families, for working families, for the working poor, for the poor. I'm running a campaign from the heart because I believe in you. I believe in the America that we can build together. I believe that together we can build an America in which every person has value, in which every child is worth investing in which people, not money, are the most important part of our democracy. And if you can imagine that America, just imagine that America. If you can imagine it, and you think it is worth fighting for, then I'm asking you, get in this fight with me. Vote with me. Go to ElizabethWarren.com. Pitch in $5, volunteer an hour. But get in this fight. Because this moment in history is the moment that we have been called to. This moment in history will not come our way again. This is our moment to choose hope over fear. This is our moment to choose courage. This is our moment to dream big, fight hard, and win.